my beautiful imperfectionist family. What's good? It's your girl Tammy, aka That's a Woman. And I am coming to you with this week's session of planting and or watering, where I'm either planting something new in your life or I'm watering, adding value, sprinkling some sauce on some things that has already been planted. And this is just your little weekly inspirational moment, that moment to charge you, that moment to give you strength and just a little break away from the things that are going on around us, right? Because the things that are going on around us right now is like, what is going on? But you know, in the midst of it, I am reminded. And I think I recently spoke about this, whether it was here or somewhere else, but I had this conversation. I am reminded of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the 3rd chapter of Daniel when they were put in the fire. Why were they put in the fire? Because they were serving their God. They were living their truth. They were operating in a spirit of excellence. And the king issued a decree, and we know there was a nasty motive behind the decree. And a lot of times it's a motive of value. Those that want to keep the power, those that want to keep control, they'll implement things that'll put people between what one likes to call a rock and a hard place. And when one is in a rock and a hard place, what do you do when you're in that position? Do you lower your standards? Do you compromise? Or do you stand flat-footed in your truth? And you know, this podcast from day one has been about your truth, being truthful to who you are, living your authenticity, letting the world know who you are. As a matter of fact, I'll insert right there. One thing we know for sure in life, right? We can't be anybody else. Everybody else is taken. So it makes no sense to try to be somebody else. Now, you can use them as a role model, as a person like, okay, I like what they're doing. I like how they're moving. I can emulate their qualities and use that to make me better. But don't try to be anybody else, because you're amazing just the way you are. I say that all the time, and I want you to catch that. And so when one is in a rock and a hard place, what do? Do you compromise? Do you fold? Like, I'm going to go with the masses? Because let me tell you, I have truly discovered we're in a world that wants you to go with the masses. Those that have the power want to keep it. Right? If they have the power, they want to keep it, and they want to pass it down to their next generation and the next generation, and so on and so on. And those who don't have power because they feel powerless and they don't feel they add up can find themselves continuously feeling that way. When I say it all the time, greater is he that's in you than he that's in the world. So nowhere in any of this do you have to succumb to those powers that are trying to keep you beneath who you are. You're fearfully and wonderfully made in the image of God. Say that all the time. Got to continue to say that. And why am I saying this? Because I know the debates are going on. There's a lot of devices being thrown, and there's a lot of things that's keeping people on edge, right? And here's the thing: when you're on edge or in that tight space that I'm going to, when you're in that tight space and you're on edge, you're blocking what God is trying to get to you. That's why I continuously say, and I'm probably going to have to continually say it until till this election thing is over. It doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter what happened. Take confidence in knowing God's got you. God's got you. You're blessed no matter what the outcome is. Now, I say this, do your part. Go after whoever you think you want to be in office. But know that no matter what the outcome is, don't tie your life to an election. Don't tie your life to people that want to control you, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. And going back to King Nebuchadnezzar, he wanted the 3 Hebrew boys, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, to bow down to him. And they had a belief that knowing we're going to worship our God and we'll bow down and worship no man. Catch that right there. Because a lot of people in power want you to bow down and worship them. They will pull you away unknowingly, or maybe they know. But if you're not careful, you'll get so caught up in worshiping the man that you miss God. And that's what I don't want any one of us to forget. God is our creator, the source of it all. And he wants us to continually stay in fellowship and worship and trust him. What does the scripture say? Lean not to your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge God and he will direct your path. What God is saying, I want you to believe in me, to trust me, to not look to man. Don't look to man for your supply. Remember, he said, I will supply all of your needs according to my riches and glory. And you know God is rich. The scripture says the cattle on 1,000 hills is God's. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. So when you know that, why am I putting my trust in man? Why will I sacrifice who I am to succumb to who they want me to be? And that's why also what keeps coming back to my spirit, even after I talk to you guys, I keep seeing confirmation after confirmation. We as people gotta be true to us. Stop trying to live in the thoughts and the opinions of others, which 9 out of 10, they have some issues, some brokenness. In fact, if they want to control you, that's part of their brokenness. That's part of their brokenness, because brokenness wants to find some kind of way to feel empowered or to feel whole. And it's a false sense of wholeness. It's a false sense, because if you got to control others, if you got to manipulate others, I am here to tell you it won't turn out good for you. Because at some point, people will, what I like to say, come to who they are. I almost said come to their senses. And you know what? When I think about that, the prodigal son popped in my spirit. He came to himself, his senses, and said, hey, I'm sitting here. I'm living in slop. I'm living with the hogs, and I'm having to operate in the capacity of a slave when I'm rich. My father has everything that I need to live a happy and fulfilling life, but because my ego kicked in and I decided to go explore, and now look where it has me. And what does the point dare say? Some of the choices and the decisions that we make in life could land us in some dark places. It could land us in a hog's pen. But here's the beautiful part about our God. The beautiful part about it, you don't have to stay there. You don't have to stay there. All you have to do is come to yourself and realize who you are and say, you know what? I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back to that place where I was, where I don't even have to be fully restored, although you will be. But I'm just saying, for if your thought process ain't that high, because a lot of times due to limited thinking, we think we have to settle for less than. He was willing to settle for being one of his father's servants. His father said, you're not my servant. You're my son. I love you. And gave him a robe, told him to prepare a feast, and let him know you are valuable. And that's what I'm saying to you. You are valuable. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego knew they were valuable. Valuable to the point they told the king that even we know God is able to deliver us. And if he don't, we still not going to bow down to you. We're still not going to compromise. We're not going to lower our standards. We're not going to operate in something less than we are. Because our faith is not in you, King. Our faith is in God. And that's what I want each and every one of you to know. Your faith should not be in the man. It shouldn't be in the things of this world. Your faith should be in God. Catch that. That's where your faith is. So when you're in a tight space, you're not alone in that tight space. Because guess what? As they were in the fire, and here's the beautiful part about when they were in the fire and when the king came to see after I left out, it was magnified 7 times hotter because he wanted to make sure he did damage with his arrogant self. He came to see, wait, we threw 3 in. Oops, 3. But why do I see 4? I see 4 in the fire. And wait, hold on. One looks like the Son of Man. That's to say, God is with you. Guess what? The Hebrew boys didn't know God was in the fire with them, but they were so content because they were blessed. And let me give this to you, something that I recently heard. I was like, oh, I love that. Blessed is being content no matter what is going on. You know you're blessed because, the scripture reminds you repeatedly, you are blessed. You're blessed. And I remind you repeatedly, according to the scripture, you're powerful beyond measure. And as I think of that blessed and contentment, I'm reminded of Paul, the Apostle Paul. Paul said, I have learned no matter what state I'm in, I'm going to be content. Because what Paul in essence is saying, that I know God's got me, whether I'm poor, whether I'm rich, no matter what state I'm in. So catch that, beloved. It's important because it goes back to what I have been saying and expressing recently. How do you see yourself? Do you see yourself as such? Or do you see yourself as less than? So when you find yourself in that tight spot, if you don't see yourself as an overcomer, as a person that's able to walk out of that tight spot, aka that fire that was turned up 7 times hotter in your life, and you are able to walk through and you don't even smell like you've encountered fire, that's what it's about. There's a cliche out there. I don't look like what I've been through. And I'm here to tell you from firsthand experience, I know I don't look like what I've been through and was even going through even while I was doing this podcast. You guys have no idea. But here's the thing. In the midst of it, even when I had my moments of despair, when I was almost at the, okay, I'm ready to give up, I can't go on any further, God reminded me, beloved, you my child. You my child. I got you. I need you to focus on the things of me. That's why the scripture says, focus on those things, think on those things which are lovely, which are just, which are pure, which are wholesome, which are of faith, which are of a good report. Those are the things that we need to put our attention to. So we can't continue to keep our attention on these distractions, these cares of this world. That's why the scripture even reminds us, do not be entangled in the cares of this world. This world will keep you distracted, and that's by design. When you are able to step back and look at what's going on, look at the chaos, look at the continued uproars, it's by design. And this is where you got to have that state of contentment that Paul mentioned. The state that the Hebrew boys that were in the fire and didn't even know God was with them. Catch that. That's for you. You may be in the fire, and even though you don't see God, He's there with you. And when you catch that and you walk in that assurance and you go through your day affirming, no matter what happens, no matter what comes my way, God is with you. He's with me. He's with all of us. And He just wants us to catch that and accept that and not be detoured, not be distracted, not caught up in the things that this world wants us to be caught up in. It's time. Find your true place of peace with God, because He said in His word, He'll give you peace that surpasses all understanding. And when you know that, when you're in that fire, when you're in that tight space, that rock between a rock and a hard place, you'll know the way of escape has already been made. Okay, I want you to catch that. That's your word for this week. I hope it has encouraged you, it has inspired you, it has motivated you, and even transformed you, because ultimately a lot of what I'm doing is to get us to transform our thought patterns, because when we continuously look at things from a certain lens, sometimes things don't change. We have to change the lens and the perspective of how we view things. Okay, so listen, if your girl has said anything to encourage you, to add value to your life, please click on the link and give me a thumbs up and or drop me a comment. And if there is someone who you feel can benefit from this message, please share it with others as we try to spread this encouragement throughout the world. And if you're not part of my Imperfectionist family, I invite you to click on the link and hit the subscribe button to join us. And a little news nugget that I'm getting ready to drop. So starting next month, the first and the third Wednesday of the month, yours truly is going to be having live sessions on Zoom. I'm going to have guest speakers. And then if I don't have guest speakers, I will have me and a word for you guys. However, I am happy to say, like, I'm already 6 weeks. I have 6 events lined up, and I am already booked for those 6 events. So I'm excited. It will be the first and the third Wednesday of every month, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. And you'll be able to get on Zoom with us, or you'll be able to see it on live stream. So be on the lookout for more information about that, because it's time to go to the next level. It's time to elevate and grow and go higher and higher and higher. Okay? So listen, until the next time, I want you lovely people, you imperfectly perfect people that you are, you beautiful people. Yes, you're so beautiful and you're so handsome. I appreciate each and every one of you for listening and tuning in, and I want you all to continue to be blessed and have an amazing day.